Could GTII be preparing for its short squeeze? Well, we may actually have some signals for it. But this video, I must warn that either you're going to hate me or you're going to love me. Okay, and this is particular to looking at signals comparable to AMC, ticker symbol FNGR, GME, and of course our very own GTII. So I would actually grab a coffee, some popcorn, and lay back because this may actually be a long one, but I have some stuff to share with you, okay? Let's go ahead and start right up. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a GTII technicals, raw price action, fractals, and statistical threat of analysis on this happy Friday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community and Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, so actually a master student of mine on Sunday asked me, have you ever experienced any type of, I'm not sure how he worded it, right? But he asked me if I had caught any anomalies or any repeating pattern that lead to some type of something in different time frames or the same time frame of the same asset. So I actually, I did. And I had mentioned to him that I've had a theory that I've never really released. And because it's just... you know, I don't want to create gamblers or anything, but in this case, I think it is a pretty good topic to talk about and to kind of entertain, right? So make sure to not use this as any type of entry point or nothing, okay? You guys use this more as informative information and current positioning. Okay, you guys, because this is, it's absolutely speculative. I am not the biggest believer of fractal analysis myself. And if any fractal analysis I would believe in is repeating patterns like channels and triangles and head and shoulders and stuff like that. But repeating patterns like the ones that I'm going to talk about here are not usually what I believe in. Okay, you guys. So let's go ahead and start looking at this now. So let's go back to the initial squeeze here, the one that we got in January for AMC, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so what I want to point out here, I'm sorry that the chart is like this, it's for a reason, right? What I want to point out here is this fractal, okay? We have a downtrend, okay? We have three peaks that we actually touch before a capitulation, right? And then we get an upside move, right? So we can usually see things like, we usually tend to see things like this, right? It behaves in this manner usually to where we get that little thrust to the upside, we get the retracement, right? And then we get that massive upside. In this case, you're looking at a move that was about 105% to the upside based on this formation fractal thing that I'm looking at. So this was actually back-to-back iterations. So now here, please notice that we actually made the downtrend, right? We came up and touched these three peaks very similarly. We capitulated, we made that little round thing, we came back, reaccumulated, and then we took off to make then an 962% move to the upside, right? So this was those were those two massive squeezes right here, right? And then now, of course, please take a look at this. So this was now the June run up, right? So May to June 2021. So this actually had that downtrend, right? We had the three peaks. We had that reaccumulation period, retracement, and then that huge upside thrust, creating a 772% move to the upside. Okay, now you can see that the patterns are actually kind of, or the fractals are actually kind of repeating, right? So in a very similar behavior. And now if we move forward, please take a look here. That this was another iteration where we had a downtrend, right? This peak right here, this one right up here, and this one. Those are the three peaks there. We have that reaccumulation period, failure, and launch. Another 165% move to the upside, right? This was way after the June squeeze too, okay? So now as we move forward to the current position where we are now, well, it looks like we're building that again. So we actually have that massive downtrend, right? We have peak number 1, 2, and 3, and we're getting that reaccumulation period. So could it be that we're in the process of creating like a market-wide squeeze here? Could there be more than just AMC? Well, GME apparently has the same signals, right? So we had that downtrend, 3 peaks, reaccumulation. We have that failure here, and then that upthrust, right? Back to back. Just like the similar to, when GME had its runs, right? So we have the 3 peaks right over here, right? After, well, of course, first the downtrend, right? 3 peaks, reaccumulation, failure, and then huge uprun, right? So now moving to our current position, well, we're kind of doing that again. So we have the 3 peaks here, we have that reaccumulation, we have the failure, and now we're starting to make an upthrust there as well. Of course, there are resistances and supports to always take into account, but it's very curious that we would be actually forming this repeating pattern, and it kind of like feels like a squeeze pattern, right? So now let's go ahead and look at FNGR, right? So FNGR is actually in that process too. So we have peak 1, 2, 3 reaccumulation. Could it be that we're gonna face the failure here? And then we're going to get that upside thrust. And I'm talking about failure from this area here because of this candle, right? So could it be that we can actually face that resistance there, failure, back to test some kind of support here, and then actually get that run to the upside, thus squeezing out these the naked shorts? So, I mean, I don't know. It's possible. But now, since we have that out of the way, and actually, let me see. Yeah, I think that was it for those, right? So yeah, so now that we have these 3 tickers out of the way with those signals present, let's jump to GTII, right? So first of all, GTII on that $9 run, we have that that massive downtrend, right? We have the 3 peaks, reaccumulation, failure, and launch, right? So we can even go back and look at another iteration where that kind of happened, right? So here's another iteration, right? So we have that downtrend, 3 peaks, reaccumulation, failure, and launch, right? So this one, of course, wasn't as huge a move, but I mean, whoever was long this ticker from, this, let's just say they were long this from this point here to the top side, you made a 1,000% gain. So that's not to joke with, right? That's a huge launch, right? So now let's go ahead and go to the present moment. So just like the other ones, back to back, just, literally that's how they all happened, right? So, right. So you have, let's go ahead and just kind of minimize this here. You have back to back iterations before those huge runs, right? Even on AMC, you have GME creating those back to back iterations here before an up run. And yeah, so GTII making those 3 peaks. We have the reaccumulation now. Could it be that we're setting up for a massive short squeeze? Would this be it? It's looking fairly similar, right, to that run that we had, to that $9 run. So again, you guys, please remember that this is massively speculative. So, and I'm not even sure if I mentioned that I did have good news and bad news. So, I mentioned that you may actually hate me or love me from this video, right? So I do have bad news as well, right? But it may actually fuel to this fire, the bad news. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on the analysis here. Now that we got this massive speculation out of the way, which could be indicative of a potential massive run to the upside. Right. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Okay. So the good news still, let's go ahead and continue with the good news. Okay. So as I was looking at the RSI, I noticed that the 30-minute that's the 1 hour. So, okay. Yeah. Starting from the 30-minute, we actually have upside, right? We have upside even in the 4 hour. We have upside in the 8 hour, and it looks like the larger time frames are kind of waiting for our influence from the shorter time frames, right? So that's partially good news, right? So now when I compared it to the volatility versus momentum, I started noticing that we also had some massive thrust, right? So we have volatility approaching the critical volatility zone, which is within the 15 percentile. We have we have a pitch upward on the stochastic momentum. We have a bullish cross on the MACD printing green. So this is the immediate short term, right? So now as we go into the hourly time frame, you can see here that we're at critical volatility with an upside pivot and also with an upside pivot here in the MACD with green bars printing, right? So, and it kind of leads into the bi-hourly too. So the bi-hourly, you can actually see here, it's just as clear as day that we're losing that bear pressure, right? So that bear pressure is minimizing little by little. Upside pivot here on the stochastics and critical volatility in a critical zone in that volatility, right? So now we're about to get that bullish cross on the bi-hourly too. So usually the shorter time frames cascade into the larger time frames. So there could be a continuation to the upside here based on these shorter time frames starting to kind of insinuate that we do have thrust coming in from the short term, and it may actually topple and domino into the upper time frames, right? So, which is making me curious over the 1-800-LAW deal, and also I'm not even sure if the dividend took full effect yet. There's a few catalysts, fundamentally speaking, too, right? So now I want to move on to well, actually, you know what? It's still part of the good news, right? So another thing is that we did touch. We were talking about that 124 target, right? Particular to the last time before we launched to the moon over there to $9, and we touched 123 today, right? So very close to the target we were talking about yesterday. However, do mind that the overall target is the space relevant to 121 to 130, right? Even if we closed at 130 today, right? So it is that still. Right. So now if we do fail this, then I would express some serious I would actually see a further downside here. Right. So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So the bad news is the fact that we're starting to pierce through this triangle. Right. So this is technically a continuation formation. Right. So and it would be piercing very, I would say at a premature level. So this if it does continue to the downside, then there are a few targets to kind of look at. Right. First of all, we do have the 1.618 at 108 as a support. Right. But we did reject from it, though. We're still closing inside of the triangle, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't guarantee anything. What I am noticing here is that we just started a 5-day iteration. We closed a 5-day iteration inside of the triangle, so that's good. We just got the new 5-day candle printing now. Okay, so let me continue on what I didn't like, though, okay, because yesterday I did speak about the bi-weekly candle formation here. If we did get a closure below the opening of this bi-weekly candle, the previous one, right, that would be... that's the opening of 132, and we closed at 130. So what that essentially did is that we created a formation here, and this is a bearish engulfing candle, of which would be the second, right? So this is another one here, right? And you can see that this one was a bullish one, and it led to an upside, right? So we're talking about bi-weekly iterations here. So this takes a long time, okay? So if there is a downside, you can see that the downsides are usually kind of limited. They're not a extreme capitulation types of formations. They don't work that way. They usually work just for the relevant ranges, right? That not for capitulation or not for huge up runs, right? Because I understand here that we had a bullish engulfing and it ended up leading to a huge upside, but please remember that it was about a month before we saw an upside like that, right? So, so let's go ahead and continue on the analysis here. So this is part of the bad news, right? So we definitely got a bearish engulfing print. So now let's go ahead and open up the Gaussian channel and continue on some of this bad news too, okay? So we were actually closing this candle here at 130, which is below the Gaussian channel mean at 132, right? So that's another indication that there could be continuation to the way down. Okay, so another thing is here on the weekly Gaussian channel, we're resisting from that mean band and suggesting a continuation to the downside, right? So I think I had one more thing to talk about here on the daily. Okay, so yeah, on the daily. This is the other little piece of bad news. It doesn't mean that it can't be corrected, but we're starting to get the first red print on the Gaussian channel, right? So that's usually indicative of a potential downtrend, right? So, and now downtrend potential, right? Because we're not capitulating here. And in fact, from today's price action, we failed the Gaussian channel. We came back and tested right at the resistance of it. It looks like we tested 135 before a continuation to the way down, and we printed a bullish hammer, right? So I'm not sure that we have enough volume here for this bullish hammer to be the final, candle before an upside like this one here. You would need a really long wick to the downside before a pretty nice push to the upside. Okay, you guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in the bearish news. But what I do have to say is that I still have in my mind the 30-minute, the hourly, and the bi-hourly feeding thrust to the upside, which could, in essence, serve as a bull trap. A bear trap, actually. Okay, so if there could be a downside, well, yeah. It would be indicative of facing around these candles here, right? So the range of about 118 to around 107 or 108, and that could be that area of a serious bear trap, because by then we could be accumulating that thrust in the shorter time frames, and it could actually pressure the upper time frames into an upside of which the shorts would not be ready for, and then this thing actually fakes out all the shorts and makes a huge run to the upside, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at so far, right? So I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts with you and be as honest as I can be, so that we can have a good, at least a peaceful weekend and not think too deep into the price action here when we should actually be spending time with family and stuff, right? So. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at here, you guys. And please remember, first and foremost, that I am not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Okay, you guys, I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be cool. But with that said, I wish you well, a very good weekend, and I will catch you at the bell on Monday. Adios.